Come to Sunday, or not yet Sunday, we're still Saturday, the 5th, or Sunday rather, yes, Sunday, the 5th day of the month of May 2024. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI. It's coming up to 4 minutes past 10 p.m. local time in London. And this evening, we would have the privilege to review the interview granted by the leader of the Yoruba self-determination, Professor Adebanji Akintoye, on the Punch newspaper. Please share the broadcast and invite your friends. As you can see from the headline of the broadcast this evening, it stated clearly, Yoruba nation doesn't mean hatred for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Please share the program and invite your friends. And a very good evening. ọmọ Yorùbá lápapọ̀ tìlé tó kó ẹ̀mí àbọ̀ ẹ̀bá nǹkan mọ́ Adéyẹmọ Chief Sunday Adéyẹmọ Ìgbòho orúkọ ńlá tí ń jámọ̀ láyà bí àrá orúkọ tó ń dẹrù olórúkọ gan-an ọmọ Yorùbá ẹ má sùn o torí pé bùrà àpòlé fojú kégbodò láyé títa ríro lẹ̀dá ń kọlà wúrà tó máa dán alànà kọjá dandan o ọ̀wọ́n ẹ̀rín ní má bẹ̀rẹ̀ wọ̀nà ẹ̀dá kan ò lè ṣì wá lọ́nà mọ́ ẹjẹ́ àtìmọ̀ṣọ́ kan ká lè débi re ẹjẹ́ àjọ gbárùkù ti Sunday Ìgbòho ṣá ọmọ Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́ nílùú Alágbàdo Òde ọmọ atapẹ̀tẹ̀ wọnú omi ọmọ gègèlè wodò sànyà ìsànyà ò rẹ́ràn bàbá yín láàrin ìdí omi kò sì náà ń kán sí yín lẹ́nu ọmọ òkúta mẹ́ta òkè Ìgbòho ìkan ń ṣe yín ní dábọ̀dàbọ̀ ìkan ní mọ́ rọra ìkan tó kù nígbà tí wọ́n ò mọ̀ Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́ kí ló dé Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́ sí ọmọ òpópó sanran ìgbàgede Ìgbòho sùn wọn láláìsí bẹ̀rẹ̀ wọn ní kò ní bẹ̀rẹ̀ ó máa kó bẹ̀rẹ̀ lọ ẹ̀sìn òní bímọ méjì ní Ìgbòho mọ̀rẹ́ bẹ́sìn bá bímọ méjì ní Ìgbòho àfikàn pọ̀pọ̀ sí amúkan yòókù bọ̀ sànyà àtúmúyà rẹ̀ tí ò lọ́rọ̀ bọ́ àfiṣẹ́rù wálé wàrà mùjì ọmọ onílé ọ̀la àwọn àjòjì tó ń ṣe ségesège tọ́láwọn ò ní bomi kó sí mu wọ́n láwọn ò ní bomi sànyà wẹ́sẹ̀ ìgbà lójú kò fi ń kọ́ gbogbo wọn náà sáré bomi kó sí mu wọ́n sì bomi sànyà wẹ́sẹ̀ ọmọ abẹ́rẹ́ mẹ́ta òde ayé ọ̀kan ṣẹ́ ọ̀kan tẹ̀ ọ̀kan tó kù ní gbogbo ayé tí ránṣọ kiri gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá Sunday Ìgbòho onírèlẹ̀ láéláé torí àgbà lásán nìkan ń dá òkúta ò ṣe pé fún wọn o ìmọ̀ràn lásán ni ti balùwẹ̀ ó pọ́sibú kó dòdò láyé ń bí ó kún díẹ̀ títọ́ domi láéláé ìtọ́ ilé domi Sunday Ìgbòho arógun má ti bí tó ń jà fẹ́tọ̀ Yorùbá ní tilé tó kó. And once again, welcome back to the program. It's coming up to 7 minutes past 10 p.m. local time. And I'll be reviewing the interview that the leader of the Yoruba nation, Professor Adebanji Akintoye, granted to Punch newspaper. Mo kí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá nílé lóko pé ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò ti àṣálẹ́ níbi tí a ti máa gbé ọ̀rọ̀ yẹ̀wò nípa èyí tí bàbá wa fi ṣe àwọn ìdáhùn sí àwọn ìbéèrè tí pépà tí a mọ̀ sí Punch newspaper tó ṣe pẹ̀lú bàbá wa ní èní. I guess the interview probably was yesterday, but it came out faintly Bawa aware. That's the reason why we have your own media to keep you up to date of so many activities when it comes to Yoruba nation. Tẹ́ẹ̀bá ti láǹfààní àti rí átíkù yẹn, sit back, get a glass of water, tea, and I'll be giving you all the details of that interview. I mean, the whole interview buttressed more on the letter Takosi Tinubu in terms of the Yoruba negotiating their way out of Nigeria. Likewise, it is also important that the other activities of Onitiri was mentioned during that interview. We would like to appreciate Professor Banji Akintoye for his continued dedication and also his love for the Yoruba people to be able to be free from the bondage and the shackles of Nigeria. So this is what we're going to be discussing. We are live on all the platforms. We are not using the software, but we are still live on all the platforms, and we hope you can hear me loud and clear. From Canada, I say good evening. From America, I say good evening and welcome. From Nigeria, a very good evening. If you're watching me in United Kingdom, a very good evening. And if you're watching me in any other African country, I say good evening. My name is OLAYOMI KOIKI, also known as Koikimedia. As many of you know, Koikimedia is one out of the many medias that are working around the clock in bringing awareness and also education to many of our people, both at home and the friends of the Yorubas around the world. It is important that we continue to support this platform, because that is the only way we can keep tab of this movement. Also important that you contribute towards the YSDM so that we can be able to do a lot of things in the course of this program. I mean, the movement. We're going to play the anthem, and that will mean that we have officially started the broadcast. If you are probably new, we love you to comment and ask questions. We know many of us have different questions, concerns, and many of us are worried about certain things, whether for now or the future of the movement. Whatever I can answer, I will try. If I can't, I will pass it on to those that probably know better than me. I am just one out of the many Yoruba people that wants to be free. Mokini, Italy. Let us play the anthem, and then we can start reviewing this particular interview. Forílẹ̀ ìbí wa, kàgbéga, kàgbéga, kàgbéga fàlórí. Ìgbàgbọ́ wa ni pé ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká jọlọ. Ìṣọ̀kan àtòmìnira ní kẹ́ jẹ́ ká máa lépa. Tẹ̀síwájú fọ̀pọ̀ ire àtòhun tó bẹ̀rẹ̀. Ọmọ Oòduà dìde, bọ́ sípò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ. Ìwọ ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀. Àwa ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀. Moki, brother me, Ijaya, hopefully we will pick on one of your audio that was sent to me. The voice of Yoruba Nation is Ijaya. Many of us will not be new. They don't follow platform to every platform has the way and how and manner their programs and their shows are presented. On our platform, we tend to pick more from the international side of things and use that to gauge the reasons why we want Yoruba Nation, so that our understanding and knowledge of why we want a country. Our Kolamako bere fún country. Yesterday in Scotland, We played that during the course of the program, where we saw multiple numbers of people in their thousands came out to protest or rally around why they should exit the union called Great Britain. So if a Yoruba person says we hate Tinubu and that is the reason why we are pushing the agenda of Yoruba nation rather than a restructured Nigeria, just tell them that even the Scottish people that have everything, and I mean literally everything, they are comfortable, they have access to full-time education, and they have a lot also to offer as well. But yet, the Scottish people still want to be known as an independent country away from Britain. As someone that's have access to many people that call us for different reasons and problems around the world, I will share just one with us in just about a few minutes. Bear with me. I'm just struggling to prepare one section of our platform ready. Yesterday, I got a call that was coming through, and it was a complaint, and we hope we will be able to resolve it. I've not yet been given the number of the person in UK. And they want to run down to UK, they want to go to Canada, they want to travel around the world, and sometimes they could get stuck. And 18 million naira was paid to somebody in UK for visa, and that person failed to provide or produce the visa to people back in Nigeria. So the complaint is still on my desk. The person has paid back probably about 2 million out of the 18. Then another call came in this afternoon. This person is currently in UK studying, but as usual, they are stuck with payment. I've given them the advice. I'm not going to tell you what I've told them online, but I've shared the little knowledge I can. Why am I bringing this up? Enitowani, Scotland, is not facing that difficulty. They are not facing the same difficulty like you and me that will be planning to japa and study in UK. Enitoje Scottish citizen. Can you get me one as well? Enitoje Scottish citizen also have access to funding with education. It might not be as free, but at least I want you are worried or bothered about paying upfront or looking for money to pay for a university education degree, as compared to many of us that will want to come and study here, like that my brother that called me, and I gave him a good advice, and he's pleased with that. He's here with his dependent, but they are currently stuck in making payment for the university fee. This is what many people are going through when you are planning to exit Nigeria. But Tabani, let's come together in one block, in one fold, and ask for this self-determination. Most Yoruba people say we just hate President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and that is the reason why we are pushing the agenda for an independent, autonomous, inalienable right of the Yoruba people. And that is not true. So Baba Akintoye has proven that again with that headline from the Punch newspaper, says Yoruba nation doesn't mean hatred for President Bola Tinubu, Professor Adebanji Akintoye. you might also be one of those Yoruba people to jókòó sí comfort zone in Nigeria, because some people are doing very well in Nigeria. We must be very frank and truthful with ourselves. Nigeria. We know that there are many people that are struggling in Nigeria, but we also know that there are many people that are living at least to the standard of whatever means they can in Nigeria. So those might probably say, like President Bola Tinubu, lashing, I think we got to switch things around. Lashing really béèrè fún pé a fẹ́ kúrò nínú Nigeria, and that is not true. We love President Bola Tinubu, and we appreciate him for what he's doing in his own capacity. But our concern is that Tinubu would not be there forever. He'll probably have maximum 8 years, maximum. That is if he gets the ticket under the second term after the expiration of his first tenure, which elapsed in 2027. Within the next 25 days from now, Tinubu will be spending the first year in office. Whatever that means to you, you can play back and ask yourself as a diaspora whether it has favored you or not. It might be too early. Some might say that carefully time. But we know that in the next 3 years, Tinubu will either have to come out and re-campaign, firstly within his party, asking for them to give him the second term as a ticket to contest. What that is going to be, I don't know. I am not part of the members of the party, but we don't hate Tinubu. And we've never hated him. But what we are concerned is that Tinubu has a very, very limited time between now and then to either allow what we want to come true since he is in power. But also, we know that Tinubu, as the president, his manifesto is within the Nigeria that he wants to keep. And I played that in the visitation of the Afenifere to Aso Rock about a few weeks back. He stated clearly that the unity of Nigeria is much better. We disagree with him. So let's go with this. I'm going to read, and then hopefully later on I will try and do some kind of narrative around this interview. Some of what you're going to be listening to, I have discussed it if you're following me in this particular letter. But it is good to know that Professor continued to grant interview both online and offline to local and international journalists and giving reasons, regardless of Tinubu's take or the Yorubas that does not agree with us. And this interview was put together by Daniel Akintoye, leader of the Yoruba self-determination movement. And also, we must remember that Ilana Omo Oodua is still existing. And we know we have the YSDM. The YSDM is the bloc that brings all the groups together. But Ilana Omo Oodua is an independent away from the YSDM because Ilana Omo Oodua was the spearhead of the Yoruba Nation movement. It used to be the Yoruba World Congress that was registered at the UNPO in 2019. If you have not heard about the UNPO before, the UNPO literally stands for the Unrepresented People and Organization. It is not United Nations, it is UNPO. The UNPO has multiple membership or members, and Yoruba also is one of them as a member. It was registered just during the COVID, but the presentation came around 2020. So if you go on the UNPO website or you type in the UNPO and Yoruba on Google, it will come back with August 3rd, 2020 statistics of the Yoruba. The population is 44 million. We don't need to argue. We have more than enough to set up a country. We have the territory, we have the language, and we are also indigenous people. That is the most important thing, because I know when people hear the numbers, we're always, like freaked out to know that we are more than 44 million. And please, I don't like when people say we are so many of us in Brazil. I'm not concerned about those in Brazil. Let's focus first about the Yorubas within Nigeria and those diaspora as well. So the UNPO is just as many other members that have registered under the UNPO. It gives us a lot of opportunity. Countries have registered as members and have become a country. East Timor is one of them. East Timor was one time a member of the UNPO, and eventually they became an independent country. I can give you the current membership of the UNPO before we go into Baba Akintoye's interview. At the moment, we have numbers of countries that are currently registered. All these countries are doing or finding a solution to their own problem to become an independent country. So, countries around the world are also finding how they can become a fully independent country from the current country that they are in. And it sometimes could be very difficult, especially if you're not fighting the government directly. If you're doing it in a diplomatic way under the international law, it is a process. And that process is what we are following at the moment. So we have Achi, we have Afrikaners, we have Awazi, Astria, Balochistan, Barostalan, Batwa, Bella people, Britannia, Catalonia, Chigon Hill Tract, Crimea Tat, District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., East Turkestan, Gan, Haratan, Hamang, Iranian Kurdistan, Kabyala, Kamakron, Nagalim, Niger Delta, Ogaden, Ogoni, Oromo, Sidin, Somaliland, South Moluccas, Southern Azerbaijan, Southern Mongolia, Taiwan, Tibet, Western Balochistan, West Papua, Western Togoland, Yoruba, and Zambezia. So you can see that Koisha in the country, these are all the countries or indigenous people that wants to be free. And it's a tug of war. And sometimes it is not as easy as some of you might think. But the good thing is that we need to just continue to educate the people, especially within our own territory, and tell them that, hate Tinubu, we love him, we hope he will do exactly what we want. But if it does not, that will not stop our right to self-determination. So let's go straight into the interview. Leader of the Yoruba self-determination movement, Ilana Omo Odua, Professor Adebanji Akintoye, shares his thoughts with Daniel Akintoye on the group's letter to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the establishment of a negotiation committee for the Yoruba nation, among other issues. In a letter to President Bola Tinubu recently, your group asked for a peaceful breakaway of Yoruba people from Nigeria. What informed this decision with a question mark? We have studied, this is not Baba Akintoye responding, we have studied the world situation concerning breakaway, and so on. And we have found that the ones who approach their struggle peacefully and in a law-abiding manner are more likely to succeed. Finland is one of them. The others who fought and threatened their government and said nasty things about other people and the government are unlikely to succeed. So we decided to follow the line that promises success. Success, as we all know, doesn't come easy, especially the end result of a success means that it will give us peace, unity, our true identity, and also to be respected around the world. The next question was, your group gave the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, 2 months to set up a committee to negotiate the exit of the Yoruba people. What are the areas you expect the committee to look at with a question mark? This is the answer by Professor Adebanji Akintoye again. When they invite us to negotiate, we will negotiate the things that will make it possible for us to leave Nigeria without any encumbrance. For instance, Nigeria has some debt. If we leave Nigeria, then some decisions will have to be taken about how much of the debt will be allocated to the Yoruba people. It has to be negotiated carefully. These are very, very detailed information that most of us probably think it might not happen. You don't break away from a country, there will still be a lot of things that tie us with Nigeria, assets, debt, and all sorts that needs to be reviewed. And from my little understanding, I remember when the UK exits the European Union. As I speak to you today, there are still a lot of negotiation going on between the United Kingdom and the European countries regarding borders controls and things that were together, but because UK left without a bloodshed European Union, they are still finding ways to balance a lot of things. So don't just assume that when we leave Nigeria, we are leaving Nigeria without a lot of other things that needs to be put together. We have debt that Nigeria has borrowed. This debt needs to be worked out between us and those countries that we borrowed money from. We have assets that the federal government probably has owned. Most of us know that sometimes we hear federal roads and all that. So all these things would be part of the negotiation should President Bola Tinubu allow such to happen. So let's continue. If we leave Nigeria, then some decisions will have to be taken about how much of the debt will be allocated to the Yoruba. It has to be negotiated carefully. Also, since they are assets, we will negotiate how much of those assets will go with us. You will not take everything. It will have to be negotiated. What is our own and what should go to the others? Whatever is our own will have to stay with us. These are part of what is called negotiation. And you can see why asking for a country is not something you go on the shelf and buy. It takes a lot of thinking for those that want to allow you to go, whether truly they might allow you to go because those assets and those debts might probably be part of the reason why they are holding on to Nigeria, because we know right now Nigeria is owing trillions of naira. We have assets that has now been used to borrow money. What happens if we break away from Nigeria? How do we resolve those assets? And like I said, those assets could be within the Yoruba land or after, or probably some, outside Yoruba land, I don't know. There has to be an agreement to create a friendly relations in the new Nigerian space. We pledge in our letter that we would make sure that our new country help other people. We've seen countries that have become new countries that are also helping within the society and the community around the world today. We have looked very carefully and we are ready to do it. Those are the kind of things that we would have to settle with the negotiation committee. So we would have people, when the federal government allowed the negotiation to happen, we would be able to sit together on the round table. A lot of things will be discussed, from the security and other areas that will come back to Yoruba land. As we know, it is not as easy, but negotiation can resolve all that. The next question, but what if the negotiation committee refuse to allow the Yoruba people to go? What will your group do? Question mark. This is a response from Professor Akintoye. If they say we should not leave, they have the right to say that. But we will tell them that their statement is not final. We will continue to seek other ways to leave. Bracket that word, other ways to leave. The negotiation that we've pushed to the federal government and President Bola Tinubu is entirely up to them to accept it or not. But that is not going to be the final end, because there are still other ways that we can push the agenda of the Yoruba nation. Those other ways are still quite open. Not literally mean fighting, not literally mean other areas cannot be explored. We can push more from the international community. We can push more from friends of those that love Yoruba people and would love to be part of us. So these are part of why we should remember that even if Tinubu refused and the federal government to accept us to sit together, that will not mean the end of it. So intimo konsala imbe ni pé tí Tinubu bá ní ohun òjókòó pẹ̀lú wa àti federal government, it is not the end of Yoruba nation. It is literally still the beginning, because other ways will still be used for our exit. The next question. Your demand came barely a few days after you distanced your group from the invasion of the Oyo State Secretariat by a group of camouflage-wearing persons. Why did this happen almost at the same time? And this is the response from Professor Akintoye. No, we were already preparing our letter. We have been working on those letters for months. Onitiri Modupe Onitiri Abiola has this habit of eavesdropping and finding out that we are about to do something, and then she would do another to intercept our action. But we have decided not to let that bother us anymore. Whatever we plan to do, we go ahead and do it. Let me elaborate on that a little bit. We know that Onitiri was doing a lot of things that almost every time she knows that we are taking one step, she tried to do our own as well. Many of those gullibles that believe that she has given them a country and accepted her as their leader, they have the right to. But I can tell you authoritatively that Onitiri knew that there are so many things that we were going to push out, and she was doing something to contradict what Akintoye was going to do and the team behind Akintoye. At the end of the day, they went into the secretariat in Oyo State. If you play back to the video Dupe released on Friday, which was dated the 12th, even though the video was not released until the next day, what she has done was she went into Ibadan. She was in Ibadan. I can tell you that Dupe was in Ibadan, even though she eventually escaped dressed like a Muslim in full ikab, the Muslim dress. That's how she left Ibadan. I can tell you that because intelligence report told us that. When she got to Ibadan, the video were all produced. She knew that she was not going to stay in Ibadan, but the gullible ones thought that they had the backing of America, the United Nations, and many other countries around the world that the moment that the video will be released to the public on Saturday, they will then move into Secretariat and Dupe will follow them with countries that is coming to support them. But going back to what we witnessed in the event that unfolded on Saturday, the 13th of that month, when Dupe decided to play these, card out. She knew that a letter would be prepared to be sent to Tinubu. She also knew that there were some other things that is going on behind the closed door that is not for the public consumption. So she wanted to use her own interim that she was bringing to literally destabilize what was being presented. And remember that we're not just talking within Africa alone. Whatever is happening in Nigeria is monitored around the world. You might probably not have picked up the news from the international media, but one way or the other, whatever Dupe was doing was also affecting the true movement from in the international side. And I can tell you this without going into too much details. So Dupe Onitiri was playing a card that will be used to portray and destroy the true image of the real self-determination campaigners under Professor Adebanji, Akintoye, and the rest of the team. Go back and listen to some of those that have been now picked up at the Secretariat. First and foremost is the same format that was used during the Amuludun FM attack, that there is some kind of cameras. I don't know what camera that is. I don't know what kind of satellite that is be monitoring them while they were doing all these hijacking of the radio station and also their presentation to hijack the Secretariat. Dupe Onitiri gave them the hope that there is a United Nations camera somewhere in Ibadan that will monitor everything and transmit it back to wherever it's going to be transmitting it to. But what Dupe did not tell them is that she's playing a card, but to the gullible ones that were listening to her, they thought that they finally got a country. I listened to the young girl that says that I was planning to apply for a job within the Nigerian security system until I was told that we don't have to worry about that. We will give you a job under a Yoruba nation country. Remember that the same thing that she told you when she said that we should go and register under, this job website, that eventually nothing was coming out of it. She's a manipulator and she knew what she was doing. But those that are followers of Dupe Onitiri, I followed her to some extent, and I knew now that she was just playing the card that she wanted you to follow. She knew right from the day that she was not speaking to any countries around the world. I can tell you that. Each time she was coming out that, all that is just to give you the feelings that she's literally having conversation with international community. But I can tell you that as someone that have lived in the UK and at least close to the government house, I've been to number 10 Downing Street, and I, at least with my understanding, I know how and what it takes, what it entails to engage a government. First and foremost, if you write a letter to number 10 Downing Street today, right, that letter will be acknowledged either through email or through normal postal writing, but it will not be seen by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister will not be the one responding back to you. You will literally get a reply, but it's just an automated reply, which is like a template. During the movement, we had Yoruba people sent letter to their member of parliament in UK, and those letters were sent straight to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. And the member of parliament that or the minister in charge. I might not be able to pull out one of those two letters. I don't know where they are right now. But I remember that some of those letters, we were told that they would not be able to interfere with the current state of things in Nigeria. So each time that Dupe was coming out telling us that she was communicating with countries around the world, she was literally not communicating with nobody. She was not communicating with anybody. She was literally not speaking to anybody. She was not. But the feelings and the hope of many people was that Dupe was communicating with people around the world. She's a full manipulator, and she was able to do that. She was able to do that, very well. But we are grateful that as we continue to say, she's not taking you anywhere. And right as I speak to you right now, she's on the run. We know where she is, but she's on the run. I can tell you that. Let's go back again. Some political analysts have described what they did as a treasonable offense. Do you subscribe to such a position? And this is the answer Professor Adebanji is giving. The committee treason, she made a statement that she has taken over the government of Yoruba land in Nigeria. She brought somebody sworn in as an interim prime minister known as Adele in Yoruba language. She sent some boys to go and take over the government in Ibadan. All of that together amount to treason. And that is a treason. I understand that some of us might say that they are Yoruba people, they are fighting the same cause with us, and there are so many ways that they wanted to get their own country, and that is the best option for them. I am not here to argue on that. But according to the law and the constitution, the fraudulent constitution of Nigeria, they've committed a treason. If they've been able to hold on to that position for 2 days, 3 days, maybe it could have been a different thing. But we know that they are not capable because, like I said, Dupe was no longer in Ibadan as a Saturday morning. She was already making her way out of Ibadan. But the gullible ones thought that they were all moving together. Maybe Dupe was going to meet them at the secretariat in Oyo State. But literally, Dupe Auditory was nowhere to be found. And Dupe left those individual gullible ones with the hope that there's a camera that is monitoring and protecting them from the force and the power of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we saw that within an hour, they were overpowered and there was no support from outside. There was no internal or external security to come and defend that Adele for them. There was no other countries that Dupe has been speaking to since 2 years that she told us that was available to even release a communique. And if there's one, please share that with me. No country around the world, not even the smallest country, gave out a communique to indicate that the federal government of Nigeria should release those that have been captured because they now have their own independent country. At some point, Ejide lied that the federal government of President Bola Tinubu has authorized that everyone that have the media of what took place at the secretariat to pull it down. That is a lie. There was no communique or no message from the federal government that videos should be pulled down. But again, Ijile went on air and said that people should start downloading those videos and keep them for record purpose, because President Tinubu requested that all those videos should be pulled down so that the United Nations or the international community will not use that against them. That, again, is a big lie. "29 of them were arrested and remanded in the prison custody. Are you not concerned with what they are going through, especially because they are supporters of the same cause?" Yes, many of them were part of Akintoye and the initial stage of the Yoruba Nation campaigners, both at home. And I can tell you that one or two people traveled from outside Nigeria back to Nigeria, and they were part of those captured in this 29. At least two, if not one diaspora, I'm not too sure which country, has been part of those now inside Agodi prison for the next 4 months. The reason why they were in the haste was because they were told by Dupe Onitiri that she's doing everything to bring Yoruba Nation into the country. But like I said, Dupe was only manipulating every single one of us. She was good at that, but many people followed that, and eventually, even those that realized at the point that things were not going the other way around, we saw them run through the University College Ibadan, changing the outfit, the military camouflage outfit that they were putting on, and trying to blend into a normal civilian. You would wonder at what point did those individuals realize that things were not as it is planned. It is because they realized that it was just not what they were told. Do I feel for them? No. They are Yorubas, but they refuse to obey and listen to the true leadership of Professor Adebanji Akintoye. So whatever the consequences of anyone, dead or alive, that have gone through the false hope from Dupe Onitiri, I wish them the best of luck. And this is a response from Professor Banji Akintoye. I am concerned about the welfare of every Yoruba person, but they have handled their matter in such a way that we cannot help them. And that's exactly what I have to say as well. We told them, you are not much more in a hurry than myself and other Yoruba people that wants to be free. But for the fact that you thought that Dupe Onitiri was going to give you the country of your desire, there's no amount of how much time you spend on Ijile listening to that crap of what he's saying. You have already gone into your own Waterloo, and we cannot help you. Even for those that died along the line, I'm sorry, there's not much I can say. Treason is the highest offense under the law of every country on earth. When you commit treason, you have committed the highest offense imaginable in that country. So who are we? Their people cannot help them. But will you argue the government to probably temper justice with mercy and release them? It is very risky to do that now, when the government is handling treason charges against some people And you, their brother, father, and friend, are telling the government to temper justice with mercy. You don't know what the reaction of the government is. So it is better not to mess around. Will you say Onitiri Abiola lacks the right to make such a declaration, even when she is one of your members? Question mark. Nobody has the right to make that kind of declaration. Nobody. And let me expatiate on that. I've listened to Wale Ali, the gullible ones, and the rest of them, probably they're watching me, that continue to argue that the declaration is valid. The declaration has been made. The proclamation must stay. Let me say this clearly. There is no declaration anywhere. Let me repeat again. There is no declaration anywhere. You might probably say that there's a declaration on YouTube. Yes, there is declaration. You can make declaration on YouTube. But there is no declaration of Yoruba country on the soil of the Yoruba land today. If there was a declaration, Nigeria flag will no longer be hoisted right inside that territory. Don't be deceived. Declaration is not just by coming out and speak about it. Declaration is about holding on to it, regardless of whatever will be the consequence of it. But again, many people do not understand what it means when the word declaration is used. Anyone can sit in his house and make a declaration. The question you should ask yourself is, since 2021 or 2022, or whenever that declaration, according to them, was made, what has been the changes since that declaration? Since their interim was declared as well, or proclaimed, what has been the changes? Do you know that there is still the full operation of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the Southwest? The laws that govern Nigeria still covers the Southwest as we speak today. The Nigerian flag is still hoisted across the Southwest and the government buildings as we speak today. Declaration from Dupe Onitiri is not and would not and cannot be valid when Nigeria is still operating. Many people that tend to live in denial feel comfortable and happy because the sweet tongue of Dupe Onitiri saying that God gave her the template and she's the only one that has the key to speak to God directly. Let me tell you this, like I said in my program this afternoon, UK is imminent to a terrorist attack. They are not using God to protect this country. As much as we have a lot of Christians, atheists, Buddhists, Hindu, Islam, and many other religions in this country, the UK will not fold their hands and continue to pray for an attack not to happen in this country. What the UK will be doing is what we call intelligent gathering, making sure that myself and the rest of those that are living in this country will not fall into being an attack that nobody knows where it can happen. It could be in the night, it could be in the morning, it could be in the afternoon. But because we are from Africa, we have literally turned everything into the religious conversation. So when Dupe came out and started using God as the eye mark of part of our campaign, that took a lot of people away from the reality that a country is not something you joke with. Dupe Onitiri took advantage of the same religious bodies that we've complained about, even though it is part of us today. The UK system is currently on level number 3, substantial. And that means that there's an highly likely terrorist attack in this country. But they are not relying on the God of Jesus Christ. Neither are they relying on the God of Islam or Hindu or Buddhism or the atheists. They are relying on people like me and you to give credible intelligence at the appropriate time so that we can take out these threats to the public and the environment. So for those of you that continue to be fooled from what Dupe continue to claim as declaration from God, that is a total nonsense. And you must come back to reality. And what really makes me feel uncomfortable is that many of those that are diaspora, that live in the same society like myself and you, whether in Europe, in Asia, in America, that knows clearly, good evening to my beautiful mother, that knows clearly that God is not used to walk right in the hospital. You do not use God as a cleaner. Neither do you use God at the fast food or customer service base. You dare not use God when you work within the customer service. You will be told your job description, and your job description will be what will be needed for the purpose of what you've been employed to do. But it seems that Dupe Onitiri was able to manipulate millions of people with a false hope that Yoruba nation has been given to her because God was communicating with her directly. And a lot of people bought into that. And that is the reason why 29 people are currently inside Agodi prison for the next 4 months when they will be going on trial. Some have called for arrest. Are you in support of that? Let the law take its course. I do not add to it, and I do not subtract from it. The next question. The son of the MK Abiola, Jamiu, in a recent interview said the family was not in support of Yoruba nation. Are you not concerned with the development? Before I tell you what Baba Akintoye said, it does not matter how many Yoruba people disagree that we don't want Yoruba nation, we don't want anything to do or have any relationship with Yoruba nation. They have all the right to say so. Nobody stopped them. They even have the right to disagree that Yoruba nation is the best option as against the restructure or every 4 years election. That is their fundamental right. But one thing is, we, the campaigners, that says that the real reason why we want Yoruba nation is because the fraudulent 1914 amalgamation has taken away our true identity. And that true identity means that Nigeria continues to overshadow who we are as Yoruba people. For every time you are told that you are a Nigerian, you are literally also then have to start explaining that you are not from Igbo side, you are from Yoruba. Or they might automatically know who you are from your name, because our name then indicate that you are from the southwest part of Nigeria. But the day that we become a fully independent country, where we have our own independent identity, no one would ask whether you are from the south part of Nigeria or the northern part of Nigeria or the southeast part of Nigeria, you would just be automatically known as a Yoruba man from the fact that you're carrying a Yoruba document as against the document called the Nigerian passport. Many people might not understand the consequence of their identity. Our identity is one reason why we must fight today to protect it from what the British created to destroy our true identity. The British knew us more than what we know today, yet they went ahead in 1914, January 1st, to create a false narrative, a false identity. I've lived in this country for 24 years. If I manipulate my identity and try to take away the real identity that I've given to the government and start using a different identity to proclaim who I am not to be, if the law catches on me, that would mean that I will be facing the law of the country for trying to deceive the system about my true identity. So many Yoruba people that continue to argue that we will keep Nigeria, you are keeping what the English created, which is a false narrative and a false and a fake identity. I know to you it might be like it is too long and we should save it and keep it. It is never too long and it is not too late. Nigeria is just less than 110 years old. We can stop it regardless of whether some say it has expired or not. We can all request to return back to the true identity that we used to have prior before the British came to destroy that identity. There is no amount of leadership that will give you your true identity. All they will do is to keep Nigeria, which is a false identity and a British enterprise. Nigeria was sold for less than £1 million by Goldie. Nigeria was created out of the Royal Niger Company. Nigeria remained an enterprise not to serve the Nigerians, but to serve the international community. You are just a number that is used to take out loans from the state level to the federal. You will not have a good life should you continue to say you are trying to save Nigeria. Trying to save Nigeria is not the issue. The bulk amount of problem we are facing today has nothing to do with more than the fact that the British created all those problems. They knew far better that the Yorubas are different from the Hausas. The Hausas are different from the Igbos. Yet, they went ahead and put every of us together and expect us to continue to live in a society that is so much toxic. We must now say enough is enough. Your 4 years election will not save you. There is no amount of Yoruba president or Igbo president or Hausa president that will unite us. Nobody can unite us because nobody was able to unite the German and the French. As I speak, the Scottish do not and should not and would not want to have anything to do with the English. They want to have an independent country. And if the Westminster go ahead and give a referendum today for the Scottish people, I can tell you, Scotland will become an independent country within 24 hours. They were deceived by the English, just as many of us think that the English would keep us together because they love us. Jonathan says, and I quote, "It is only the British intention to keep Nigeria together. But the Nigerian people are different in culture, in language, in everything. but we are all living in denial, trying to save what is not what to be saved. It is time that we understand that Nigeria has come to an end. How soon it ends means up to you and me to make sure that we continue to ask the real question. Don't expect your politicians to support this. They are part and parcel of the new slave master being used by the West to control you and keep you under operation, keep them poor, destroy the Yoruba economy, and destroy everything that belongs to us. Most importantly, our identity. Our identity identify who we are. And this is a response from the question again from Professor Akintoye. I am not concerned. Everybody has a right to be for or against the Yoruba nation. That is the right of everybody. What is important to me is what we are doing. I am also interested in what our chances looks like. Our chances as of now look very good. In the letter your group said it had earlier sent to the former President Muhammadu Buhari while he was in office, why do you think the letter was ignored by Buhari? It was not ignored. We know that he received it and he expressed concern immediately. He did. But a few weeks after we heard that the posture in Abuja was that the major election was on the way, and that was not the time to enter into any major thing we are asking for. That is the reason why we sent the letter ahead to Tinubu with a lot of time frame. There is no election coming up till the next 3 years. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has every right to look into our request and our quest for a negotiation to be free from Nigeria. Whether he agrees with it or not, like I said, is entirely up to him. But that does not stop the campaign of the Yoruba people to exit Nigeria. They are concerned about why the call for a Yoruba nation is coming again, especially since a Yoruba man is now the president. Did this not cross your mind at any point? A president of Nigeria is a president of Nigeria. That is all. I won't say more than that. Tinubu is not representing Yoruba alone in Nigeria. Tinubu has sworn allegiance under the fraudulent constitution to keep and bind Nigeria together. We know that at some point during his exile, he stated clearly that he does not believe in Nigeria. But things have turned around. He returned back to Nigeria in 1999. He was not the choice candidate for Lagos State. Funsho William was. But we all knew what happened after that. Funsho William was killed. Tinubu became the candidate for the AD in 1999. And since then, he took advantage as the governor of Lagos State that had issues with Obasanjo as at the time. Many people loved him because he was able to stand his foot against Obasanjo, the evil man. I knew, and I can confirm that Obasanjo was in London yesterday celebrating Owu Day or something of such. And I've seen the video yesterday myself. But one thing is, people fall in love with Tinubu along the lines. Some disagree with him because of some of the steps he was taking in Lagos State. He took advantage of Lagos State, a revenue making, enrich himself, decided to cut out Lagos as part of his own. He will not be the first person to do that around the world, and he will not be the last. But the question is, he fought his way to become the president. Is his right? That does not mean that we hate him. But what we are saying is, he should give room for negotiation that is still far on the table. Negotiation takes time. But like I said, if negotiation fails, all other options are still on the table. But do you see him, President Bola Tinubu, possibly approving the breakaway of the Yoruba people from Nigeria, since he is currently in power. He may not assent to it, but we need to make our case so that international community will know that we want our country. And let me explain what that means. Tinubu, like I said, does not literally, we pray that he does, but he does not literally have to accept our offer for negotiation. But it is good to put things in perspective. If Tinubu fails to accept what we want, and God forbid, should things go the other way around, and you all know what I mean by that without going into full explanation, we can still come back and tell the international community that we gave the option for negotiation, but Tinubu refused to accept it. And we decided to take other options to bring the limelight of international community into the conversation. And should the federal government go hard on the movement through whatever means according to them, it would only fast track the dissolution of Nigeria faster than what we expect. There's no amount of how international community might love Nigeria when the world, like we can see right now with the Palestinian issue, it has become not just about what took place on the 7th of October when Hamas attacked Israel. Many people are now more concerned and worried about the humanitarian disaster that have led to over 40,000 people being killed by Israel, the Palestinian. And that is why if you go and see what is happening presently in America, students are shutting down every university. People are going on hunger strike. As at yesterday in Scotland, as the Scottish people were campaigning for their independence, they were also dragging along the Palestinian issue. This would eventually be the case if President Bola Tinubu refuses to accept the offer to negotiation. If things goes the other way around, Tinubu might unleash the military on us, but it would also fast track the real campaign back into a full blame of the international community on our plight. And when we come out and say, we gave room for negotiation, but Tinubu refused to accept that negotiation. And that is the reason why other steps were taken. We will not be the first in the world to take any other steps. 1997, after 30 years of unstable relationship between the Irish and the UK government, with all the manipulative, with all the infiltration. So when some of you say that Dupont-Itiri was not used to infiltrate us, go and ask the IRA how the British government infiltrated them using all kinds of proxies. Not much people died, but a lot of collateral damage took place for 30 years. But in 1997, Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, both signed the Good Friday Agreement that allows the Irish people to go their separate ways. So when some of you say it is not going to happen, I might tell you it might happen, but for now, the negotiation is still on the table and you cannot be fighting two things at the same time. Let's give room and let's give time as the negotiation continue. If that fails, I don't know what next our leaders will be telling us, but I know at the back of my mind that something will lead to something, and eventually the collapse of Nigeria will happen. Remember that we are not just the only one now asking for the independence of Nigeria. Whether we like it or not, regardless of what you feel and how you feel, the Biafra are also asking for that same right. The Ijos are asking for that same right. The Arewa might not be pushing, but I know at some point they might push much harder. But one thing is, not even Tinubu and all the security can hold back all these campaigners that are saying we should come on the round table and discuss the future of Nigeria. If the future of Nigeria is not discussed on the table, it will be discussed with the bullets and guns all over the place. I pray it doesn't get to that stage, but the chances will be slim when negotiation and peace is not allowed. Some said that the renewed agitation is targeted at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. How true is that? Many people believe that the reason why we are making the push is to destabilize Tinubu's government. Tinubu's government has been destabilized before he even came on board. Buhari, the evil man, decided to collapse the economy before Tinubu was coming on board. Tinubu did not bring in all the jihadis. Buhari opened the borders and allowed as many jihadis to infiltrate us that even up to yesterday in Shagamu, the lives of our people have been threatened by terrorists that told the man that was kidnapped and eventually released, but 6 were taken away, that not even the police have the kind of weapon that they have. It might not affect you because you are probably far away or you are not too close to the point where you are being kidnapped. But remember that as I speak to you tonight, many innocent Nigerians are being moved from point A to B by the Fulani terrorists. And yet, Tinubu, the weaker point, is not able to protect even himself. As we know, he's currently not back in Nigeria. I'm told probably he's on a medical treatment, which is his right, because Buhari spent almost all his life in UK receiving treatment. We didn't fight Buhari. Why would we be fighting our man? We are not fighting people. We are not fighting the government. Many of you think that we are fighting the government because of our utterances. But you are stupid because you don't understand that fighting the government means that by the time we fight the government means that there's gone all over the place and killings and burning of places and anarchy. All that hasn't happened is because we want it to be done in a peaceful manner under the international law. And like I said, if all the international law fails to be accepted by the government, then all other options would definitely be on the table, because that means that the government is adamant not to listen. I hope it doesn't get to that stage. So when people say we are fighting the government, nobody's fighting the government. We are just fighting for our right, and that right will be respected. You might not feel comfortable with it, but it's the right. And that right is under the Convention of the Human Rights Universal Declaration. It's under the United Nations Charter. It's under the African Union Charter that Nigeria is a signatory. And whether you like it or not, no matter how your feelings to Nigeria will collapse. And there's no doubt about it. We are just making a statement. Nigeria has become the kind of country we do not want to belong to anymore. Yes, some of us still carry the Nigerian passport because that is the only passport that we have. If you're one of those that have other passports because you have nationalized yourself, or you are probably privileged to be born out of Nigeria as at the time your parents were living outside Nigeria, you're lucky. But many of us that still carry the Nigerian passport knows the consequences of that passport, regardless of whether we started the campaign or not. That passport has been a very bad signal for many of us that have been able to use it to travel from point A to B. We do not just want to be part of Nigeria, and our rights should be respected. And we are serious about it. Some of you might say it is all a bluff and nothing is going to happen. There's nothing about bluffing about it. It's just that the right needs to be respected. We don't have the weapon, we don't have anything, but we have what it takes to continue to educate and highlight the reasons why we need to go. It is important that the politicians that continue to be shying away from the true conversation start making these as part of a conversation, as dialogue, offline and online. If they refuse to, it will be not in the interest of every one of us. Yoruba territory belongs to Yoruba people. It does not belong to America, neither does it belong to English or French. It belongs to us. And it is important that we all sit down and start having conference and decide the future of the Yoruba people. We are not fighting the government. We are just tired of being part of what the British created that is not our true identity. So we are just making a statement. Nigeria has become the kind of country we do not want to belong to anymore. That is all. It has nothing to do with any person or personality or individual. We do not hate Tinubu. What we hate is Nigeria that was created by British for their own selfish gain and selfish reasons. There appears to be confusion among Yoruba leaders because while you are advocating Yoruba nation, Afenifere is calling for restructuring. Why this so? There is no confusion. Afenifere is calling for restructuring. It is not entirely unreasonable because they say that when we live in a region of our own, under late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, we were prospering more than the rest of Africa. So we want to go back to that. That is not an unreasonable thing to say. If people want restructuring, yes, they might ask restructuring because they believe that it will take us back to how it used to be. Whether the current administration gives that to you or not, time will tell. And that time is ticking. We were able to overcome Buhari. We would also overcome Tinubu. I pray everything will be dissolved before that. But if those of you that believe that Tinubu will restructure Nigeria at least back to what it used to be, it will be of great benefit to you. But that still means that you will still be carrying the same identity that is not yours, known as Nigeria. A full, independent, autonomous of Yoruba people will take you completely out of Nigeria. It doesn't take time to change the passport, the currency, and rebrand every part of Yoruba land into whatever name we decide to call it in the future. All that will mean that more printing work and more opportunity will open and more doors we'll have for every single one of us. You want Nigeria, but you are not even having any cake out of Nigeria. That is not an unreasonable thing to say. However, we look a little deeper than that. We believe that if we were to return to the regions of the 1950s and we were managing our affairs, several things would be possible. One, we did not commit any offense. In 1962, before the heads of Nigeria gang up against us and declare a state of emergency in Nigeria, in the southwestern part of Nigeria, and put our leader in the prison. It was an entirely political thing. Again, the British had helped the Fulani to rig the election of 1959 with evidence. So when some of you say election is being rigged today, it is not new because British rigged the first election in 1959 to favor the North against Baba Awolowo. An election was coming in 1964. Would they be able to hold a man like Awolowo down and not be able to rig the election against them. Awolowo was a brain that the British were scared of. They knew the power and the capacity of Awolowo, and they did advise the Northerner to destroy Awolowo, and everything established by Awolowo was destroyed. And that is why today, many of those that claim to be Aworis are one of those that are taking us backwards. They are not representing us. They might dress like Awolowo, but they are criminals. And that is the reason why we must continue to say to them, they are just not representing us. Once again, a very good evening and welcome to each and every one of you. The Western region was too solid and powerful, and Chief Awolowo was leading the region of the West. It was not just physically. Evidence also have pointed that there was quite a lot of marauders, voodoos, that was sent to those of our leaders, the Akintoye and Awolowo, to make sure that they were not working together. So when some of you are against Yoruba nation, we understand that it's got to do with spiritual attack on you. Some of us have overpowered them through whatever means we believe in. But those of you that still believe in Nigeria are probably believing in Nigeria because there's a lot of spiritual power that is going over you. The Western region was too solid and powerful, and Chief Awolowo was leading the region of the West. He was the best politician in the country. He had conducted elections in 1959 that was rigged, that nobody had ever conducted anywhere in Africa. The British knew Awolowo more than you and me. Yet, they were worried that if Awolowo was given the opportunity, Awolowo would not just keep Nigeria as a great place, it will also open doors to all other African countries. That dream was killed, not just by the Northerners, but by the British that knew the power, the brain power of Awolowo. And that is why we will continue to be grateful to someone like Professor Adebanji Akintoye for holding on to that dream of Awolowo for the rest of us that had probably never met Awolowo face to face, apart from what we read and what we saw through some of it. I pity Yoruba people. The British knew the power, the brain power of Awolowo. So when you want to keep Nigeria, you are also saying to the British, thank you very much for destroying Awolowo. That is exactly what you're doing, regardless of your stake in the society today, whether you are big, small, old, regardless of your shape. As long as you keep in Nigeria, you are saying thank you so much to the British for destroying the legend of our time, the brain power. Even the British knew that Awolowo could be their prime minister and he would guide this country into the right path. So a Yoruba man today that says, I want to keep Nigeria, what you're saying is that Undukbelowo Britain, we will destroy Baba Awolowo. That is exactly what you're doing. Maybe you should think about it tonight again. The Western region was too solid and powerful, and Chief Awolowo was leading the region of the West. He was the best politician in the country. He had conducted elections in 1959 that nobody had ever conducted anywhere in Africa. So if he came back as a ruler of the Western region and as a leader of the Western region, and he was to conduct the same level, the same highly sophisticated, powerful election campaign as he did in 1959, would the Northerners be able to resist him? The answer was to disrupt his Western region and disrupt his life before the 1964 election. And that is what they did. What is our guarantee that it cannot be done to us again in the future? We don't have a guarantee. But won't the restructuring be enough to solve all the issues bothering the country? We should restructure and go back to our regions. We were in a region when they did that to us. Why won't they be able to do it to us again? Secondly, the Fulani are saying that they want to conquer all the non-Fulani nationalities of Nigeria, including the Yoruba. They want to convert their own land into a Fulani homeland, and they are ready to fight the war for decades and even centuries to come. That is their statement. I am quoting them. Are we, the Yoruba, ready to stay in a country where people are fighting like that? Already, the fighting has cost us a whole lot of heavy losses. Our farmers have abandoned farming. Now we are faced with a situation in which for years and years to come, we'll be suffering. We'll be suffering a shortage of food and food insecurity. Are we ready to continue like that? Question mark. The answer is no. We cannot continue in a country where the Fulani are killing, maiming, and destroying, raping, and kidnapping, and extorting ransom. Up to Friday, I guess, from the new audio that has been released by someone that was taken by the Fulani, indicate that nowhere is safe in Yoruba land. That event happened at 5 p.m. local time in Shagamu. You might be lucky today. Some of your family and friends might not be lucky. 6 people. That is the number we know, but we know that many numbers are still with them. As ransom are being paid, police refuse to go in. Security operatives cannot go in and rescue the people because they cannot fight with the kind of weapon the Fulani terrorists are holding on to. We cannot continue in a country where the Fulani are killing, maiming, and destroying, and raping, and kidnapping, and extorting ransom. They are still doing it today. Recently, people coming from the village not far from Owo in Ondo State, they say that the Fulani had destroyed their farms, and now they are here to destroy them. It happens every day. So do we want to live with that for the rest of our time? Question mark. How long can a nation stay in that kind of destruction before it finally crumbles? With a question mark. Nigeria is also crumbling in other directions. The economy has collapsed. The leaders of the economy had said the economy had collapsed. But many had said the economy collapsed before Tinubu emergency. Yes, the former governor of the central bank, Soludo, said the economy collapsed before Tinubu was sworn in. He said it was like a dead horse that they were managing to keep and make it look as if it was standing. Ẹṣin tó ti kú, tó gbé dúró, bí tí wọ́n fi jẹ́ kó ṣubú, even though pé ẹṣin yẹn ti kú. The new Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister for Economy, Wale Edun, also said the economy had collapsed and that Nigeria had been borrowing money to run the government. We cannot continue to borrow money. We cannot continue to borrow money. We cannot continue to borrow money like that anymore, because 98% of the government revenue is now expanding on servicing debt. Gbèsè ní gbogbo owó tí Nàìjíríà ń pa ni wọ́n fi ń san. That is the reason why you are poor. Ìdí tẹ́ ṣe ní proper education, healthcare, welfare, benefit. Owó tó yẹ kí Nàìjíríà máa fi ṣe ìtọ́jú fún gbogbo wa, òun ló fi ń sáfíìsì gbèsè. Kò ń ṣe fault ẹ̀ pé ò níṣẹ́. It's just that for 63 years, the foundation was never done properly. It was a deliberate act by the British to keep Yoruba people poor and run to UK and we get stuck. As of today, a couple with a child cannot even afford to pay the school fees and the home office and the health charges. They are currently stuck as I speak to you right now in UK. They've lived there for 2 years. They've already paid £15,000 plus for student fee, minus other fees, sold everything that they have in Nigeria. Now their chances of becoming an illegal immigrant, should they not get any help before the end of this month, they would have no other option to be returned back to Nigeria if they cannot renew their documents. This is not a script. This is someone that called me crying that they are stuck in UK. The consequences of that collapse is the increasing poverty among our people. You can ask yourself if you are one of those in the poverty bracket. Poverty doesn't mean that everybody that has money, as long as you cannot move from point A to B freely, you are also in poverty. Not everybody in Nigeria is poor, but many of you are not free because there is no freedom across the country. We, the Yoruba, used to brag that no Yoruba man will beg on the street. Láyé àtijọ́ nìyẹn. Ẹni tó wọ suit got in bẹ̀bẹ̀ láti jẹun. As at yesterday, somebody begged and begged and begged. I had no other option to send 4,500 to them. It's a small money, but at least to keep them for the next day. For how long are we going to do that? I'm sure some of you also are facing the same problem, especially those of us that are diaspora. Now, hundreds of thousands of Yoruba people are begging on the street of our cities, from Ibadan to Ekiti, to Osun, to Ondo, to Lagos, and the rest of Kogi and Kwara. All these point to disintegration. Now, it used to be said that on the African continent, school attendance is the highest in Yoruba land. But now, because of poverty, many families are no longer able to send their children to school. So out-of-school children are increasing exponential numbers in Yoruba land. Meanwhile, almost all our university graduates, a dynamic factor in any economic in the world, are living in Nigeria. I have seen an estimate that says that about 11 million highly qualified Yoruba people have fled to other countries, including the United Kingdom. And more people are still falling into the trap. Like I said as well earlier, a call that came through yesterday, 18 million was paid to somebody in the UK, and the visa never was given to them. Those young boys are now worried and concerned. And that was the reason why I was reached to see if we can come into amicably with this individual to pay back the money. At least, please be careful when people tell you they can do visa. You can be already in trouble in Nigeria, but trust me, there are many criminals that are living in UK that will take advantage. I hope I'll be able to resolve that problem and the money can be returned back to these young Yoruba people back home. The next question. And if you're joining us for the first time or probably catching up, this is just the interview Akintoye granted to the Punch newspaper that I'm reviewing. And after this, I'll be ending the broadcast. How well do you think that the Yoruba nation can survive splitting from other countries. Living is the only way we can survive. Àwọn kan ní we should remain in Nigeria, we will survive. I can tell you, some of us will survive, but millions of our people might end up in the IDP camp, especially when these murderous criminals come out and kill many of us. We will all run into different places to survive. Let me say this. UK is currently substantial. That means there's an highly likely terrorist attack in this country. Imagine if we are saying already that there is a terrorist attack on a daily basis in Nigeria. It might not be in a large quantity, but by the time they come out in full, many of us will run out of our places. Your governors will not be able to control them because they would overpower. Remember that the America saved Abuja few months back when the terrorists were almost going to take over the Federal Capital Territory. It might mean nothing to you, but the tendency is getting closer. We can run the best government on this African continent. Give us a few months, and we will be at our usual thing, running the best government on the continent. We have the capability. In the letter, it was stated that most of you don't have confidence in the restructuring of the country. Why is this so? Firstly, we had a region before. That is what restructuring will give us now. It was taken away from us in 1962. How are we sure it won't be taken away from us again? Secondly, the Fulani are coming and doing all sorts of horrible things to our people. Attack after Abulegba. A woman lost 40 million naira. Millions and millions of produce, of goods, were destroyed because somebody, for whatever reason, won 16,000 naira, and that led to the burning of a market that the Yoruba people were trading. It's a true catastrophe that we said was coming. But many of you said my utterances was creating more problem in Nigeria. But you are probably seeing those monsters coming closer to you, but you refuse to shout out so that we can also know that they are living with you. Nobody knew that Ilepo had bandits from the eyewitness until after the attack. You wonder that many of the Yoruba people are sleeping while terrorists continue to infiltrate our territory. This happened in Ilepo last week, Wednesday. Maybe if you're in Nigeria, you can pay a courtesy visit and see the damage and the atrocity of a whole market burnt down because of 16,000 naira. How are we sure it won't be taken away from us again? Secondly, the Fulani are coming and doing all sorts of horrible things to our people. Restructuring cannot stop them because there will still be Nigerians, and we will all be Nigerians, and they are entitled to come to our land and do whatever they are doing there. Another group can come in one single night. You could lose your region. Ní ilẹ̀ kan bá ṣú, a lè jí kí a má ní ilẹ̀ mọ́. You might say we are making this up. Go back to the video of Igogo just after the Ekiti rally and see how palaces and many of the community were completely wiped away. I remember one of the videos that was generated out. The individual was shouting, "Eba mi pe Koiki, ogun ti wọlé, ẹ pe Koiki ogun ti wọlé." We left it and nothing was done. And probably people are still trying to find their feet together. It might be coming closer, and it might still be far away. But one thing is, the jihadis are coming. ISIS are currently operating not in West Africa, but right inside Nigeria. These are one of the 5 most deadliest terrorist people in the world. They are more dangerous than Boko Haram. And UK is beaming up for an attack from them. The threat level in UK today is substantial. That means there's a likely highly terrorist attack in this country. Part of the restructuring effort of the government is the directive for implementation of the Oronsoya report. Don't you believe in that as well? It is not a question of what I believe or not. The Fulani said that Allah has given them all the homelands of the peoples in Nigeria for them to conquer and turn into the Fulani homeland. That they have the mandate of Allah to go and conquer, and they are ready to keep fighting this war of conquest for decades or even centuries to come. Do you think that we have the power to continue to fight them because we want to keep Nigeria? How much do you think you can take? Do you think that we can take it longer than it is right now? Ẹ má worry nípa Koiki, kò sí nǹkan kan tó máa ṣẹlẹ̀. Ẹ ṣáà jẹ́ ká máa bẹ Ọlọ́run. Yet, àwọn tẹ́ ń bẹ Ọlọ́run fún, they are coming in and they are building more powerful warriors. Our train our ọmọ wa as the jihadists. We're training them to go to school, learn trade, become a mechanic, become a scholarship to whatever countries around the world. But I want to fight jihad. Jihad is what they want to do and convert you, a Muslim, back to non-Muslim, because Yoruba Muslim to them are infidels. Christians are even very worst to them. Go and read the report that came out from the US about the massacre and the killings of Christians in Nigeria. The ISIS are even more dangerous. They hate anything culture, and they are grouping, and they are taking more land in the north that the military cannot overpower them. They've already infiltrated the military. Everybody knows that. But we are all sleeping as if nothing is going to happen because we are praying to our gods. It's good to pray, but it's also good to be smart and intelligent and not to be stupid. So it is not a question of what I think. It's a question of what they say, and it is foolish for us to underestimate them. And so that we are very intelligent. But yet, when she but I underestimate one. And that for me is like we are just sleeping in a dangerous situation. UK, as I speak to you tonight, are working around the clock to stop any kind of terrorist attack in this country while we are sleeping and hoping that the gods of Jesus Christ or Muhammad will stop it. We should not be stupid. We should be more smarter than that. And we hope Tinubu will negotiate with us. Few more questions to go before the end of it. The move to exit Yoruba people from Nigeria has been described in some quarters as undesirable, self-serving, unnecessary. What is your take on that? The people in the self-determination struggle are also saying that, given all the explanations I have told you, the demand for restructuring of a region now is unreasonable. In the final analysis, it is the numbers that we count. It is the family argument. There is no immunity. One section of the family is saying, give us restructuring. Another section is saying, no, we want to get out, give us our country. The young people who are saying, give us our country, are mostly educated youth, and they are the vast majority of people in Yoruba land. The educated young people from the age of 18 to 50 are about 70% of the Yoruba population. So it is 70% are saying this, what we want, and the other 30% of 20% are saying that it is the other thing we want. Who is likely to win? Let the government give us more opportunity to penetrate and take our messages and give people full more reasons why we should stand on our feet and on our own. But they know that giving us that full access will mean that we will bring more people out of the operation Keep Them Poor. Are you saying that Afenifere group is 20%, while the group which is 70% is with you in the struggle for Yoruba nation with a question mark? These are educated young people. I had an interview with Dr. Ruben Abati 4 days ago, and within 24 hours, that interview had been viewed 62,000 people. They are the masses who want Yoruba nation. They are happy. There is another column in the television station's report where there were 9,000 comments, and none of them commented negatively against the movement, but they were all positive. That is how to know what is happening. 3 years ago, we decided to get the people to sign a petition on these, and within 4 weeks, we had 5 million signatures. Which other body in Yoruba land can achieve that? Afenifere is our highly respected organization. I am a member and one of the leaders of the group, but I know that we cannot argue with the masses of the young people. They hold the power of numbers. Wanita Sikobato from Allah. Àwọn tó náà wọn làwọn ní power lẹ́nu nílẹ̀ Yorùbá. Àsìkò táwọn ọ̀dọ́ bá dìde, agbára yẹn ẹ̀yin gan nílé kan tẹ́lẹ̀ mọ́. But for now, like I said, there is still room for negotiation. You are not powerful than us. I've told you that so many times. You are not powerful than the full 70% youth of Yoruba people that I am among. It's not just me that is talking. I am speaking on behalf of those 70%. They are still being omoluabi, not that they are stupid, but we will continue to be patient, 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 patient. But one day, that patience will no longer hold. And it might be too late. From you, the speaker, to the governor, to the security, and the international community. And that is when things will explode. Don't let it get to that stage now, so that we can facilitate the peaceful exit of Nigeria. Emani Donwo Lubi Yokere. I know Donwo Lubi Yokere. But one day, the youth will rise up and take back what belongs to us. Britain cannot continue to tell us that we cannot de-amalgamate what was amalgamated. It was done with bullets. It can also be upheld back with bullets. And there's no doubt in my mind about that. If it is difficult for the Yoruba leaders to speak in harmony now, why do you think they will be able to speak and work in harmony if the sovereign nation of the Yoruba people is achieved? There is no nation where all the leaders will speak in harmony. It doesn't happen anywhere. Why are they asking you that it should happen among the Yoruba with a question mark? No. Are all the leaders of America speaking in unison with a question mark? Are all the leaders of Britain speaking in unison with a question mark? Why are people demanding that Yoruba people do what the rest of the world is not doing with a question mark? With your agitation, are you in support of the indigenous people of Biafra who are also demanding the same exit from Nigeria? I am not in support of anything other than the Yoruba self-determination. You cited insecurity and the killing of the Yoruba people by Fulani as one of the reasons why Yoruba must be allowed to go. But the president has also promised that insecurity will be addressed. Don't you believe him? And why do you think separating will solve the problem? How is he going to address it? Right under President Bola Tinubu, as at the last count of 10 months, I've not added the 2 months to it, 7,000 people have died of the Boko Haram and all other terrorist attacks. I am not talking about food hunger, welfare, healthcare. 7,000. That's an average of 700 people dying every month. Imagine 700 people dying in America because of terrorist attack. Not that people are not dying in America for obesity and other healthcare issues, but I am talking about terrorist killing in UK up to 700 people. This country will have exploded. But in Nigeria, we are taking and taking too much, and one day we will not be able to take it anymore. Thank you so much, my brother Easy, for the super chat. How is he going to address it? Fulani people declare war on January 24th and 26th. In their first declaration, they demanded the immediate release of the leader of the Miyetti Allah, Bello Bodejo, who was arrested for illegally creating a Fulani force. I quote, "We hereby demand for his release. We hereby give 72 hours notice. Failure to release him, the Nigerian government will hear from us." One of the things said is that with the establishment of the state police in all the states, the issue of insecurity will be tackled. Don't you think this would work? Let me say this before I give you what Akintoye said. There's nothing like state police, okay? All that was just a proposal. It is not yet debated. It is not yet brought in as a law. So when you hear Omashe State Police, is a lie, is a fraud. It's just a way to deceive your mind from the reality. Because the more you're hearing state police, you're thinking that it's already in the making. No, it's not even part of the making. It's not even close to. It is part of the politician's dubious way to take your mind from the reality. Is a gamble. So Toban Sokwe, hey, Omani State Police, know that there's nothing on the table right in Abuja from the Senate and the House to indicate that state police is coming. It is just a way, we call it illusion, just like Duponitiri illusion country. And this is a response from Akintoye. How many years will it take them to amend the constitution to create a state police? Ọdún mélòó ló máa take wọn to amend the constitution? Because you need to amend the constitution before you can talk about the state police. So when people say that we're going to talk about the state police, right there and there, it is a lie. State police would have to happen right inside a new constitution. But a constitution in Nigeria that is a fraud, many people know is a fraud, and Itobalowo, like chief priest, would be able to exit and negotiate with the EFCC. But Bobrisky probably have enough money, but maybe because people do not agree as a cross-dresser, he or she was punished 6 months in the prison. But the same offense was committed by chief priest Kubana, yet he was free to go and negotiate. That shows that the law applies to one, and it also applies to one in a different way. You, calling yourself a true Nigerian, I hope you will have enough to cover your track when the law comes on you one day. Once again, as we continue the final part of the interview of Professor Adebanji Akintoye, the leader of the Yoruba self-determination, on the analysis of what that means with my own little input. I would like to appreciate every single one of you that have found time to join us, and it won't be long before we all go back to bed. It is now the 6th day of the month of May 2024, and it's exactly 4 minutes past 12 midnight from UK. Once again, thank you so much, Easy, for the super chat. And thank you so much, Mr. Fab, for your support, and the rest of you as well. The president cannot just announce, you have to amend the constitution to create state police. The president cannot just announce the creation of the state police. The constitution has to be amended. How long will that take? Remember that amending the constitution has been taking 30 years, since 1999. The first person that was given that fraudulent constitution to use to govern Nigeria was the former president Obasanjo. And like I said, I'm aware that he's in London as at yesterday attending an event in UK. Yet, the same constitution continued to be used till today, 30 years after. My question then to you is, how long will it take for the constitution to be amended, for the state police to be created? Socially, oko finye fifi share tan fún àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá pé láìpẹ́ láì jìnnà state police involved. But everybody knows there is no state police coming, even in this administration of Tinubu, even in 8 years. Your group gave the president a deadline of June 15, 2024, to set up a negotiating committee. What happens if the president Bola Tinubu does not respond? We will continue to do what people should do towards their president who refuses to answer them. That is all. Is protest part of those things? We are entitled to have protest anytime we choose to. That is our human right, and nobody can take it away from us. So if anything pé ìjọ́ ọ̀la máa ṣe rally, ìjọ́ ọ̀la máa jáde, it is our fundamental human right, and when that time comes, the announcement will be given to us all. In the recent times, your letter, which I have been treating for a couple of weeks now, jointly signed by yourself and Chief Sunday Igboho, is the movement a kind of joint partnership? The letter, is signed also by few other people. We are the representatives of the movement. That is how the movement wants it. But who is the leader of the Yoruba Nation agitation? I, Professor Adebanji Akintoye, is the leader. What is your take on the performance of President Tinubu since his emergency over 7 months ago? He inherited an awful situation, an economy that had collapsed. People were rioting on the street and cursing. Members of the National Assembly were shedding tears in the National Assembly when they talk about poverty and the suffering of their people. That is the situation. But he had the courage and assured Nigerians to entrust the nation to him, that he would fix it. Yes, it can't be done in a hurry. None of us can be foolish enough to believe that anybody can fix it in a hurry. But he has done several good things. There's no doubt about that. Maybe over time, he will be able to bring life back into the economy. But realistically, nobody expects that. That is not for keeps. After him, the Nigerian economy will go downwards. As it was going downward before he came, there is no doubt about it. There is no assurance in Nigeria for a final fix to the economy. If MK Abiola and Chief Obafemi Awolowo were to be alive today, do you think that they would demand self-determination for the Yoruba people with a question mark? I believe that Chief Awolowo will do so, but I don't know about MK Abiola. I don't know much about Abiola's thinking, but I know a lot about Chief Awolowo's thinking. And that is the interview granted by Professor Adebanji Akintoye, the leader of the Yoruba self-determination, that gives us hope that the Yoruba people will be free from the bondage and the shackles of the British amalgamation. Muki Enti and Bewa. Láti Àjà, Muki Alaja Adiat Odewale, Julia Tosin, Bamidele Aliu, and many more of you that have joined me tonight. As I leave you again, let's remember that nobody can stop the movement. Mr. Babatunde Owasheyi, thank you so much. Idowu Matthew, thank you so much. Prince Bami Ade Olawale Ogunbanjo, thank you so much, sir. Yawa Joke Bodori, no, they are killing us like a chicken. Tinubu kept quiet and Sanwo-Olu Fulani damaged our market, killing many Nigerian, those women managing themselves, destroy all the stuff. 419 Sudan of Sokoto, ruling Nigeria. All our petrol money is with the foolish people. Ogun will kill you all one by one. Moki, brother me, Fatai Ogunribido. We've been trying to get out of you, but it seems that we can't. We're meant to have conversation, but for whatever reason, we hope that that will come very soon in the week ahead. Good effort. Keep up the good work. The Lord is your strength. Yawa Joke Bodunri went further to say, but Tinubu says he's not believing one Nigeria. Ole, Olushi. Very greedy man. Put all his family in the position. Ajayi Gabriel, thank you so much. Ijaya, thank you so much. Babawa Temidayo Dennis Omitogun, well done. Up Yoruba Nation, no going back. Lukman Olaide, thank you so much. Comrade Oluwasegun Adeniji, thank you. God bless you. Augustine Ademola Onyeloye, thank you so much. Akim Ayodele, thank you. Abiodun Monday, thank you so much. Let's break and save lives. Yawa Joke Bodunri. Also, Kende Council, I will not be happy if Tinubu, I'm trying to read that, if Tinubu left the power, Baba now started speaking. Edward Omolola says that Nigeria is dead and dead country called Nigeria. Kende says Nigeria is not working, let us divide it. You also went on to say, I want to ask why Baba, I want to pick that. You also want to ask, as Baba mute since Tinubu became president? Baba has not muted, and you've just heard about the interview and the letter, so I'm not getting where your information that Baba has muted. Baba was never muted, and Baba spoke eloquently on the Arise TV, in case you've missed that. Wasiu Ogunbamiwo. To my beautiful mother, thank you so much. To Professor Adebanji Akintoye, we love you. To all those that have joined us on the Twitter space, on the Twitter video, on the Instagram, from Yawa Felicia Jagbe, and many, many more of you like that, that we probably will not be able to mention all the names. And those silent listeners, for a reason known, probably they are part of Onitiri and they don't want to have anything to do with us, but they want to listen to a very powerful conversation like ours, because they know the truth is on this side. Idowalade, thank you so much. Saeed Balogun, thank you, comrade. And as many of you that have joined us again, as I'm going to be leaving you, I'm already tired. I got to go to bed now. We hope to be back again. Somebody was asking me, what time do I normally come out? And I say, I don't have a time. Keep your notification on. To a mother, grandmother, Yawa Comfort Ologunja, and to your beautiful sister in America, Baba Akintoye, the great answers, Baba Olawa would have supported Yoruba Nation, not Abiola. We cannot tell. Peter Pan, thank you so much. Adeneyi Omojolade, thank you. Olalekan Gbadamosi, Juliet Tosin, Mukiyawa Alaja, Iyagbowo, all the way in Aja. Fab, thank you so much. They have now been given a blank check by the new agreement. Aziz Badeshere, thank you so much. And to the Koikimedia team that are working quietly behind the scene, Kunle Shita, Oluwaremi, Bawale, Grace Olushoto, Juliet Tosin, Phantom 2K say, Egbomi, Tiff Tinubu isn't one of our own. No. Well, we know it's not one of our own, but we just have to continue to hope that Biatabasoro to do. Agbawa Adefwani negotiation. He's a thief, a criminal, a saboteur. What has Tinubu ever done for the Yorubas? Question mark. He knew Buhari was an incompetent zombie. Ajoji Kogbodo Balewa, good evening to you. Phantom Moses Oga, who sold Boko Haram to everyone? Shebi it was that dementia drug dealer we call president. What did Chief Tinubu do or say when our people were being slaughtered under the Boko Haram? Olalekan Gbadamosi, thank you. Peter Pan, Shako, Mr. Shegunwano, Abiodun Adeosu, Lee Lakoka, Samuel Okwade, Shegunwano, Omobolaji Abdullahi, Yawa Ifagbemileke, Bello Ismaila, Bishop Adeshino, Silver Badmos, TJ, I saw you at Yoruba Way as well earlier, Wasil Taiwo, and as many of you that have Comrade Plan B, and many people that have joined us, our Biafra brothers and sisters. The area was no calling tonight because it is already late, and I know there's no school for the children, but again, it is quite late now. It's 15 minutes past, and as you all know, I'm operating on a mobile studio. Hopefully one day we'll have our own full studio. Thank you so much. Akim Taiwo Sanusi, Yoruba Nation not going back. Yawa Comfort, thank you so much. Pastor Mo, thank you. To my beautiful mother, Triple DRS, thank you. And for the love of Motor Show, Olawomi, Mokibugo Yami America, Nick Bubiti, Etingbo, Imi, Omoyin, Aburoyin, Orukomini, Olayomi Koiki, Nibiti, Amafi, Agba. My end program is in on Yoruba, but you know, sometimes Yoruba me is not as good as others, but I'm trying my best. Ibitamafi Agba to Isiniye. I think I tried. Please be vigilant. Try not to travel if it's very late, even though on Benirole. We hope that our governors, like I said in my broadcast in Sunday, that they will do the needful and protect us from the criminals that are creating havoc. Richard, who is this? I've been no glasses, money latio. Roland, thank you so much. Mokibubua. And those of you that disagree with us, we say shout out to you. When I'm doing my presentation, like I always say, please do not tell me to speak in Yoruba because we have a lot of audience that are listening to me around the world. And I try my best to do a bit of, translation. Yoruba program, Yoruba. No, I am not communicating to you alone. I, on this platform, I'm communicating to many millions of people that are watching. And I know they're watching because I know the statistics of people that are following us back to back, whether live or a repeated program. And I know that because I can say it through all my statistics. And on that note, thank you so much, Plan B, for the love from the MixLR. You join us on the Twitter space as well. And the rest of you that we didn't mention, Onayolamasun. Ishewa funlewa, forile ibiwa, kagbega, kagbega, kagbega faleri. Ìgbàgbọ́ wa ni pé bàtí bẹ̀rù làbọ̀ mọ́ ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká jọlá. Ìṣọ̀kan àtòmìnira ní kẹjẹ́ ká máa lépa. Tẹ̀síwájú fọ́pọ̀ ire àtòhun tó dára. Ọmọ Oòduà dìde. Bọ́ sípò ẹ̀tọ́ rẹ. Ìwọ ni ìmọ́lẹ̀ ògo adúláwọ̀. Chief Sunday Igboho will be coming to UK. The team that are doing the preparation will be telling us much about it later, but it will be coming to UK before the end of the year. I'll be announcing the date. Your support will be needed. There will be rallies, there will be dinners. So please start preparing for that. For those of you, it will be sometime in October, but I will tell you the exact date as we go into the conversation. But the team are working quietly behind the scene for the visitation of Dr. Chief Sunday Igboho coming into the UK for a special visit. Majid Ibrahim, thank you so much. Adekunle Plenty, And on that note, Orayolamason, Odaro, bye for now.